Hey DevTechs! Welcome to the IA Dev channel. In the last video, we talked about SEO accessibility and basic CSS, right? Well, in this video, we're going to learn about CSS. 1. What is CSS? 2. Past of CSS, from tables to floats. 3. Present of CSS, from flex to grid. 4. New and future, container queries, cascade layers, anchor positioning. And 5. Hands-on, header, plus banner, plus sidebar, plus content, plus grid system, with tiny.js. Web layout didn't start elegant, it started scrappy. From table hacks in spacer GIFs, to float wars and clearfix charms, to the day flex and grid finally made sense. Today we'll time travel through CSS, fast, and then build a mini layout that uses the best of modern CSS in under 60 lines. 1. So, what is CSS, eh? Well, CSS, my friends, is how the web, totally dresses up. HTML, it just says what things are. But CSS? Oh, CSS decides how they feel and how they flow. The key word, and you gotta remember this, is cascade. When multiple rules target the same thing, CSS, it resolves those conflicts by origin, specificity, order, and now, get this, layers. And, listen up, remember this. Choose the right tool for the right dimension. Flex for 1 dimension, grid for 2. 2. The past of CSS from tables to floats. Back in the early days, web devs, they wanted those fancy magazine layouts, but they had 0 layout tools. So, what did they do? We nested tables, we sprinkled 1x1 spacer GIFs, and we even styled with beer tags. Maintainability? Nope. Then came floats, meant for text wrapping, not layout. We forced them into column duty. Parents collapsed. We invented the clear looks, and we tangoed with browser quirks. Frameworks like 960.js and early Bootstrap, they made floats usable, sure, but man, we were swimming upstream. Floats were a workaround, not a layout system. 3. The present of CSS. Flexbox, it, totally changed components, one direction at a time. Smart spacing, perfect centering, natural reordering. Navbars, cards, toolbars. And grid? Grid changed pages. True 2D tracks. Named areas. Auto placement. Subgrid alignment. Galleries. Dashboards. Page shells. Grid is home base. 4. The new and future. The power-ups. Modern CSS. It's totally leveled up, folks. First, we've got container queries. Components adapt to parent size, not just the viewpoint. That's huge. Then, cascade layers, with that awesome @layer. You decide the winner order right up front. No more specificity wars. Thank goodness. And nesting. Oh, it's native now, with SAS-style clarity. So clean. Next, has. Style apparent if it contains something, like an error, an image, you name it. And finally, anchor positioning, which is still emerging, but it's gonna be a game changer. Tether povers and tooltops to anchors in pure CSS. These let us build with less JS and way more resilience. Now, let's build a mini page. We'll do a header with flex, a banner with a simple hero, and a sidebar plus content with grid. It'll be responsive, of course, with a container query, layered with a layer, nesting for readability, and just a tiny JS sprinkle for the hamburger and light-dark toggle. It's gonna be epic. So, let's have a hands-on exercise on CSS. First, let's start with basic HTML. If you want to know the basics of this HTML startup, you can check out my first video. I've added a link below. We're going to check out our folder structure. The best practice is to create an assets folder. Within, assets will have images, CSS, and JS. As you can see, I've already created an images folder that we're going to use in our exercise. Next, we'll create a CSS folder. Within that CSS folder, we'll create a new CSS file named home.css. And let's add the link tag in our HTML with the attribute of rel equals stayshield and an href quote with its path that we've created home.css, which goes to assets/css. First, we'll create a header HTML. We'll add comments above header tag start and below header tag end so that we'll have clear readability and be representative of our code. For class name, we're gonna follow a rule. Class names will have a maximum of 6 character limits, because if you're going to use a large class name with lots of characters, then your code length will be increased if you have a lot of repeated components, which is not good. For the header, we're going to give it a class IA head. This means my brand channel name, or you can change it and use your own. And header. Within the header, we're going to create a button tag. Then, we're going to add class IHMGR, which means hamburger. And we're going to give it the same ID that we're going to use in JS later. Then we're going to add ARIA label. If you want to know about ARIA label, you can check out my SEO and accessibility video. I've also added the link below. Next, within the button, we're going to add the HTML entity for and #9776, which is 3 bars. Yeah, you know, the icon. Then we'll create a div with the class name IADef. After that, we're going to create a nav tag. We're going to give a class to nav that says IA nav, which means navigation, and with the same ID that we'll also be using in JS later. Then we're going to add ARIA label that says primary. Within the nav, we're going to create a button tag with the class IA and X, which means navigation, close. Then we'll give it an ARIA label that says close menu. And we're going to give it the same ID as the class, which we'll use later in JS. Then within the button, we're going to add the HTML entity and times, which is the close icon. Next, we'll add some links. And on the home link, we're going to add a class name, active, and ARIA current that says page. After that, we're going to create a button with the class IA, BTN, and ID theme. And we're going to add ARIA pressed with false, and ARIA label with toggle theme. And within the button, we'll add an asterisk and an emoji. Our header is complete. Now, let's do some CSS. But before header CSS, first, let's check out the browser preview. Let's run this HTML on the browser. As you can see, there's no style, and there's an invisible gap, which is basically a margin that by default, the browser uses CSS. We're going to reset those CSS by overlapping our own CSS. That way, it will prioritize our CSS. So, let's get back to the editor. We're going to open home.css, and within home.css, we'll start with layer query that says reset. Within layer reset body, we're going to add static, then colon before and colon after with the curly parenthesis. Inside, we'll add box sizing border box. What does it do? It makes the entire HTML elements that will have a fixed width and height size, and the padding we define will be on an inner side of the element. Then we're going to add margin 0, so that we would be able to remove browser default margin certain elements. Next, we'll create a body with the curly parenthesis, and inside body, we're going to add font 16p +/1.3, sans serif. What does it do? It gives font size 16 pixel and a line height 1.3 that will be proportional to the font 16 pixel, and the font family sans serif. Then we'll add image with the curly parenthesis, and within image, we're going to add max width 100% and display block that makes sure that image will be responsive and it will remove the invisible spacing. Next, we'll add anchor. Inside anchor, we'll add color inherit and text decoration none, so that browser default color will be removed with text underline. Okay, now at the very top, we'll go add layer and we'll add reset. This makes sure that the reset layer will be prioritized and used. Now, let's check the browser. As you can see, we've removed the browser's default CSS by prioritizing our own CSS. Now, we're going to return to the editor. Then, very below, we're going to create another layer that says base. With base, we're going to create root, and within, we're going to add CSS variables. I've added all that we're going to use in this exercise, and a class theme dark, as this will be used in dark mode. Next, we'll create a body. Within body, we'll add a background with a BG variable that we have given above. Then, color with the variable FG. Then, we'll add scroll behavior, smooth. Red, this ensures that scrolling is, well, smooth. And above, we'll add base on a layer after reset, so that base will be more prioritized than reset. Then again, very below, we're going to create a layer header. Within that header, we'll add a header class. If you remember, we used HTML header with the class IAHead. Within that, we'll use display, flex, to make the header a flexbox. Then, we'll add align items center, so that all the items in the header will be middle aligned. Then, we're going to add justify content, space between, so that each item will have spaces equally between them from the header's start to end. Then, we'll add gap, 1 EM. What does 1 EM mean? 1 EM is equal to the base font size. I haven't given any pixels in header except for the very top element, body, which is 16 pixels, that we've given inside a reset layer. So 1 EM is 16px technically. Then, we're going to add a padding with 1 EM and 2 EM. What does it mean? It means x-axis and y-axis. If I give only 1 EM, then it gives 1 EM on both axes. If I give 3 times 1 EN, that means top, x-axis, and bottom. And if I give 1 EM, then it means top, right, bottom, and left. It's like a clockwise value for padding and also margin. Next, we'll add a container type with inline size, so we could make our header a container query. Next, we'll add an anchor with the transition of color for animation, transition time function linear, transition property color, and transition duration 200 milliseconds. Then, we'll add and active. What does and mean? It means anchor, as we are nesting inside anchor. Within anchor, we'll add color with a variable brand and a font weight 600. Next, we'll add and hover. Alright, so within hover, we're gonna add color with the variable FGH. Next, we'll add class.iaDev. Inside, we'll add font weight 700, font size 1.4 EM, and color with the variable MFG. Next, we're going to add 2 classes together of a button that we created on header. First, IAHMGR, which is hamburger. We'll add a comma, then the second class, IABTN. We'll add curly parentheses, and within, we'll add padding 0.45 rem and 0.75 rem. Then we'll add a border 1 pixel solid with the variable ring. Then we'll add background with the variable BG. Then border radius 0.5 rem. Then color FG, cursor pointer, and font size 1.2 EN. As you can notice, I used rem in padding because I'm giving font size 1.2 EM, and because of it, it'll be fixed-based proportional gap. Next, we'll add an IA pressed true, and again, and means parent element that's been nested, so the parent will be IABTN and IAHMGR. Inside IA pressed, we'll add outline 2px solid with the color of CSS variable brand. Then we'll add container with the width greater than 991px. It means if header size is above 991 px, then we'll add IAHMGR class with display none, so that hamburger button will be hidden on desktop. Next, we'll add a nav, and we'll make it Flexbox, one-dimensional, horizontally, by adding display, flex, and we'll make sure that its content is vertically aligned to the middle by adding align tightens, center. Inside, we'll add an anchor, and within that anchor, we'll add letter spacing 0.1 em, so that there will be, letter spacing. Then, we'll add a container query for desktop, where the screen width is greater than 992. And within that container query, we'll add gap, 5 em. And we'll add a close button class, IANX, and we're going to hide it on desktop by adding display, none. Then, we'll create another query for below 1991 pixels, which will be for mobile and tablet screens. Within that query, we'll add flex direction, column, so that each link comes below after each. For mobile, we'll add position, absolute, and we'll add inset, 0. Inset is new, which means top, bottom, left, right. It's similar to margin, clockwise that I explained before, for margin. Then we'll add background color with the variable BGT. Then we'll add justify content, center, which means vertically aligned. Now, I'm thinking that you're confused, right? Because before we did align tightens, center, as vertically aligned, right? It's because of the flex direction, column. If flex direction, which is, by the way, row by default, then justify content is considered as x-axis alignment, while align items is y-axis alignment. But if I do flex direction, column, and alignments is reversed, justify content will be y-axis alignment, while align items will be x-axis alignment. See, as Flexbox is one-dimensional, it could either be row or column at once only. Next, we'll add text align center, then text align center, and then we'll increase font size to 1.4 em. We'll add approximately 0, and visibility hidden, so that it should be hidden by default on mobile or tablet screens. Then we'll give transition for approximity and visibility for fade effect. Next, we'll add an and active class, which we'll add via JavaScript, and within that class, we'll add approximity 1 and visibility visible. Then we'll style the class of the close button, IANX. Within the curly parentheses, we'll add position, absolute, right, 1 em, top, 1 em, background color inherit. Why background color inherit? It's because browsers also have a default button tag background, which we don't need. Then we'll add outline, none, and border, none, to override default browser CSS. And we'll increase the font size to 2 em. We'll add cursor, pointer, and the transition for a color with linear and 200 milliseconds. Then we'll add color with the variable Fiji. Then we'll nest focus, and within curly parentheses, we'll add color, variable, brand, so that it'll have a focus color animation. Now, let's check on the browser. As you can see, it's a one-dimensional Flexbox header. We have a brand logo on the left, navigation in the center, and a light-dark toggle button on the right. If we check on responsive, we'll open the browser inspector, and we'll go to the browser emulator, and we'll select the mobile screen. As you can see, we have made our header responsive. Now, we'll add some basic JavaScript so that our button is workable for both the hamburger button and the light-dark toggle button. let's return to the editor. First, we'll create a JS folder within assets. Then within JS, we'll create script.js. I won't go in depth with the JS, I've just copied and pasted it, but I'll give you a quick rundown of what this code does. Document represents the entire HTML or the page. We add an event listener. In the event listener, the first parameter is the event name, and the second is a function. You could say it's like a signal, and there are some default signals of HTML, like EHHEN, which means that HTML rendered completely. Afterwards, we created variables with document.idl, and we pick each element that we have given an ID in HTML. Each button has its own even.length of click that we wanted what it should do, like theme.bub. Within it, we created a dark variable, and we give document.body, which is a body tag, that toggles the theme dark class. If it gave the class theme dark, then toggle class will output true and be saved in the dark variable. And if I clicked again on the light dark button, then toggle class will output false and be saved in dark, and will assign dark variable to theme bedset with plus +ww. In set attribute, the first parameter should be an attribute. For example, with an ing, we use src. So, for the theme bottom, we also used aria pressed, if you remembered. So, with plus +ww, we added aria pressed, and plus +ww is second parameter is string dark. String with parentheses means that any type of value you add within parentheses will convert to a string type. Like in the dark variable, if toggle class is added, it returns true, and if the toggle class is removed, it returns false. So, dark value type is Boolean. With string, the Boolean value will be converted to a string. Then, for the hamburger add event listener, click. Within, we pick the navigation variable. Then we add .class.add with the value active. And the same for the close button, but except .class.remove active. We'll deep dive on the next video about JavaScript. And we also add a script tag below, before the body tag end, so that our HTML rendered will be prioritized first, then afterward loads the script.js file. We'll give the src with its relevant path assets/js/script.js. Alright, now let's check out how our JavaScript is working. As you can see, when we click on that dark button, it changes the entire theme from light to dark mode. This is why, whenever you start any website from scratch, you could prioritize color themes first on root, which defines every variable at the root level. And when we click on the button, it toggles the theme dark class. And in CSS, on the base layer, we have defined root, and theme dark class, if you remember, right? Now, let's click on the hamburger button. As you can see, it's the same navigation that was shown on desktop, horizontally middle. So, as you can see, it's not different HTML or a sidebar. It's the same, and we've made it responsive, which is amazing, isn't it? So, our header is complete. Now our next section will be a hero banner. I'll leave that to you guys, as this will be a task for you to create your own hero banner. Or you can also check out the banner and a footer. I'll add a GitHub link in the description below. Now, let's return to the editor. After banner, we'll add a main tag with the class IA_main. Our entire content will go into the main tag. Within main, we'll add a section tag with the class IA_sect. Section will have our main content. Within section, we'll begin by adding a header tag with class I-A-SHDR. This will be the section header. Within header, we'll add an H2 tag that says best scenery location. After H2, we'll add a paragraph tag that says check out the best scenery location. Next, after header, we'll add an article tag with the class IASAR AR, which means section article. Within article, we'll add an image tag with the src attribute of Mount Fuji path image path from assets, images, and we'll add an alt attribute that says Mount Fuji. Next, after image, we'll add a title with an h3 tag that says Mount Fuji. After h3, we'll add a paragraph tag with its description. Alright, our first article is completed. Let me copy and paste other articles. As you can see, each article has the same class and structure, only the content is different. Now, our section with articles is completed. Now, let's add a sidebar after the section. We'll add an aside tag with the class IAside. Within aside, we'll add an h2 tag that says navigation. After h2, we'll add a nav tag with the attribute aria label as primary, and then we'll add anchor links. And at the home link, we'll add an attribute of aria current as page. Alright, our HTML for main is completed. Now, let's add CSS. Alright, so first up, we're going to create a main layer, and within that main layer, we'll slap on an IA main class. And inside those curly parentheses, we'll add some padding, 2em on the y-axis, and for the x-axis, we're going to use a clamp, 1em, 3vw, and 2em. Now, what does that mean? It means the first value is your minimum, the second is a scalable value based on your viewpoint width, and the third, that's your max value. So, your font will always be a minimum of 1em and a maximum of 2em. After padding, we'll add display, grid, with a gap of 2em, and we'll whip up a container using container type with inline size. Next, we'll throw in a media query. It's like a container query, but it's for the global viewpoint width, for print view, and for portrait or landscape orientation. Back in the day, and still now, media queries were the go-to for responsiveness. But container queries are super new and solve some critical problems. So why are we using a media query here? Because our main tag doesn't have any parent element except the body. That's why. Anyway, we'll add a media query with a width greater than 1024 pixels, and inside those curly parentheses, we'll add grid template columns with 1 fraction and 400 pixels. What does that mean? It means 2 grids with a width of 1 fraction. F stands for fraction of the leftover space, which makes it super easy for responsive grids. Scalable, depending on the grid element width. In our case, the main is the grid. 1F is the content section that we'll create, and the aside will be 400p x, which we'll also create later. Alright, we'll add a sect class with display, grid, and a gap of 1.5 em. Next, we'll add an SHR class with grid colon 1-1. Then, we'll add a nested h2 with the font size clamp, and in parenthesis, first we'll add 1.5 em, second, 4vw, and third, 3en. After font size, we'll add margin block, 0. Because browsers give a default margin on each heading, we'll just reset it. Then, we'll add color with the variable mfg. After h2, we'll add a paragraph, and within curly parenthesis, we'll add font size with the same clamp, but the values will be 1am, 2vw, and 1.5em. We'll add a container query with a width greater than 740px, and we'll add a sect class. Within that class, we'll add grid template columns with repeat with parenthesis 2,105. Next, we'll create a card layer. Within that card layer, we'll add an IASART class. Inside curly parentheses, we'll add background color with the variable card. Next, we'll add border radius with 0.5e. Then we'll add overflow hidden. Now, what exactly does overflow hidden do, you ask? Well, overflow hidden hides any child element that's overflowing its parent element. In our case, we've added it because the image corners don't quite fit the parent's border radius element. That's why we're using it, folks. Anyway, next we'll nest image. Within curly parentheses, we'll add aspect ratio, 16:9, and object fit. Cover. With aspect ratio, you can set either the width or height, just one, and it'll automatically adjust to its aspect ratio. And object fit fills the image within a fixed size area. If we use contain, it'll fit the full image. If we use cover, it'll fit into the entire area, but crops the original image. Then, if we use fill, which is by default, it'll stretch the image, which will totally ruin the aspect ratio of the original image. Next, we'll add an H3 tag. Within H3, we'll add padding, 1.25 rem for the y-axis, 1.25 rem for the top, and 0 for the bottom. After padding, we'll add font size with 1.4 en. Then we'll add color with the variable MFG. After H3, we'll add a paragraph, and within that paragraph, we'll add padding with 0.5 rem, top, 1.25 rem x-axis, and 1.25 rem bottom. Same as before. Our card is complete. Next, we'll create a sidebar layer. Within curly parentheses, we'll add background color with the variable card. Next, we'll add padding with 2 em. Then we'll add border radius 0.5 em. And next, align self flex start. Now, what does align self do, you ask? Align self aligns the element directly. As we use flex start, the element will be on top. But hey, note this will only work if the direct parent element has display flex. Next, we'll add font size with a clamp of minimum 0.8 em, scalable 2VW, and maximum 1 em. Next up, we'll style the sidebar's main heading, H2, with font size 1.5 em. Then we'll add margin block end 1.5 em. What does margin block end mean? Well, margin block gives margin on the block axis, a line stacking. And there's another, margin inline block, which is for the inline axis text flow. Block and inline block are new methods, which are also used with padding and border too. Anyway, next we'll add color with the variable MFG. Our heading H2 styling is completed. Next, we'll style the anchor. We'll add display, block, so that each anchor will have its own row. Then we'll add font size with 1.2 em. Then we'll add a transition of color and border color with 200 mils and a linear effect. Then we'll add an colon not with the parenthesis. Within we'll add colon last child. What does that mean? It means that it gets all the anchors except the last child. Why not the last child? It's because we added colon not, and within its parenthesis, we added colon last child, which will not select that anchor. Within parenthesis, we'll add 1 em of margin and padding block end. Then, we'll add border block end of solid 2px with the variable ring. Then, we'll add an hover, and within parentheses, we'll add color with the variable MFG. and a border color with the variable brand. Next, we'll add container query. Within parentheses, we'll add width greater than calc, and inside those parentheses, we'll add 1244 pixels minus 4 em. So, I think your head is buzzing, right? What does it mean? It means if the element's width is greater than 1224 pixels minus the base font size times 4. Now, I think you're understanding how powerful container queries are. Anyway, inside the container query parentheses, we'll add position sticky and top 2 em. What does this position sticky do? Position sticky freezes an element to the viewport when it scrolls. If we scroll bottom, our sidebar will float on top with the top spacing 2 em that we've given, but only on the container's matched query. We do not need it on mobile or tablet screens. That's why we have added container query. Now, let's add every layer on the very top to prioritize each layer. I'll leave the footer part for you, as it's your task to create your own footer. Or you can again check my GitHub link in the description where I created a footer. Now, let's check the results on the browser. As you can see, we have created a grid layout. And we also used a sidebar, floated. When I scroll, the sidebar is floated too. And you can also see that we've given it a top 2 em spacing. Now, let's click on the light dark button. See how the entire page is dark, because every background color and text color we defined with CSS variables. And we change each variable's colors on the theme dark class. When we click on the light dark button, it toggles the class theme dark on the body tag. It's amazing, isn't it? Let's also check on responsive. Look how our grid is responsive. We've used container queries and media queries for the main. As you can see how powerful grid is. You can even make it more proper using grid template areas to use the full power of grid. As I started with the basics so that I can start with the foundation first, then in future later videos, we'll deep dive into advanced features. Anyway, our exercise is completed. In the next video, we'll deep dive into JavaScript's past, present, and future. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you found this helpful. See you in video 4. Let's dive deep. Let's master the craft. And let's build like true Devitect.